Hey everyone, you know what? History's weird. It's filled with surprises. Sometimes those surprises involve two people related by blood tying the knot. Wait, don't click off the video yet. I know it sounds crazy, but throughout history, incest has been much more common than you'd expect, especially among royalty. Welcome back to the channel. Today, let us delve into the world of these scandalous unions and uncover the truth behind why the world's most powerful people, including kings and queens, often chose to marry their own flesh and blood. To begin our journey, we'll travel back in time to ancient Egypt, the land of the pharaohs. These rulers weren't just seen as earthly leaders, but as actual manifestations of the gods themselves. You heard right. They believed pharaohs were literally gods, walking the earth. This belief led to a unique tradition, one that might sound bizarre to us today: marrying one's sister. But hey, if you're a god, I guess you can do whatever you want. Now, you might be wondering why. Why would they do this? Well, for the Egyptians, it wasn't just about having a good time. It was about preserving the divine essence, keeping the bloodline pure. In their eyes, if the pharaoh was a god, then his or her partner should be a goddess too. Enter Nefertiti, King Akhenaten's wife, and the lady behind the famous bust. She was also his first cousin once removed. Their union was part of a long line of sibling marriages, a tradition meant to keep the divine blood uncorrupted. Even young Tutankhamun, the boy king, buried with all those treasures, had parents who were brother and sister. Yeah, talk about keeping things in the family. Later, DNA tests confirmed it, proving that royal incest wasn't just a rumor, but an accepted practice. So why exactly did they do this? Well, according to experts, it was all about the genes, specifically the gene associated with being born a male. As female rulers were rare in ancient Egypt, marrying sisters ensured a higher chance of producing a male heir, which was super important for continuing the bloodline. Unfortunately, this practice had its downsides. As the gene pool shrunk due to constant inbreeding, physical issues like clubfoot, scoliosis, and even brain damage became more common among the royal family. Young Tut, with his clubfoot and other health issues, was a prime example of this. However, despite these problems, the tradition continued. For the Egyptians, having a male heir was more important than anything else. What's more surprising is that after the fall of the Egyptian kingdom, the idea of marrying close relatives didn't go away. It popped up again in different parts of the world. Across the vast ocean in Hawaii, the Alii, the Hawaiian nobility, also practiced a form of incestuous marriage. But unlike the Egyptians, it wasn't motivated by a need to preserve a divine bloodline, but by something known as kapu, a kind of spiritual authority. Members of the Alii class often married their full siblings, ensuring that the highest kapu remained within the family. Children born from these unions were considered to have the ultimate spiritual authority. So you can imagine that when you had the opportunity to marry someone with ultimate spiritual power, it was hard to say no. Let's cross the Pacific and head to the Inca Empire in South America. Here, the ruler was considered the son of the sun god Inti. So naturally, the Inca believed that they needed to maintain the purity of their bloodline. How did they do this? You guessed it, by marrying their sisters? By doing so, they believed they were upholding their divine heritage and staying connected to their god. Meanwhile, in Europe, during the Middle Ages, the motivation behind keeping it in the family was entirely different. There was no talk of gods or spirits. Instead, it was all about power and survival. Imagine being part of a royal family where marrying outside was almost impossible. That was the case for the Habsburgs, a powerful European dynasty. Over many years, they engaged in a lot of cousin and uncle-niece marriages. Why, you ask? Well, marrying outside the family could mean losing power. If a king married a woman from another royal family, his children wouldn't be eligible to inherit the throne. This meant that to maintain their grip on power, royal families like the Habsburgs had to keep things in the family. Now, this constant inbreeding had its consequences. Think of it like a game of musical chairs. When the music stops, only a few get to keep their seats. In the Habsburg family, this meant a high chance of serious health issues. You've probably heard of the Habsburg jaw, a condition that makes the lower jaw stick out thanks to excessive inbreeding. Charles II of Spain is a perfect example of what happens when you keep the family tree trimmed. He was so inbred that he couldn't chew food properly or speak clearly, Talk about a royal pain. Not only was he unable to enjoy his food, but his inability to produce healthy offspring led to the end of his dynasty, setting off a chain of events that sparked the War of Spanish Succession. In the 19th century, there was a loophole. A way to keep up the appearances while getting around the whole thou shalt not thing. Religious law forbade incest, but the solution was simple. Just pretend you're not related. Charles II exploited this by calling his half-sister Maria Theresa of Austria his wife. Technically, they weren't directly related, so it seemed like a legitimate marriage. Now, fast forward to modern times. You'd think that with all the progress we've made, we'd put this whole incest thing behind us, right? Wrong. Even today, many royal families around the world share DNA from hundreds of years of intermarriage. For instance, most European royals can trace their ancestry back to Queen Victoria, had 8 children, 6 of whom married their close relatives. 2 of her children had hemophilia, a blood clotting disorder. And through marriages, they spread this condition to other royal families across Europe. Even the recent past is not immune. Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch in British history, was related to her husband Prince Philip. They were third cousins. So yeah, it seems that the whole do want mix it up rule doesn't always apply to royalty. But why do they do it? Well, it all boils down to one thing: tradition. Throughout history, royals have married within their families to preserve their bloodline and maintain power. They were so used to doing it that it became second nature, even if it meant dealing with some serious health issues every now and then. Now, I have a question for you. If you were a king or queen, would you break the rules and marry your sibling? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, before you go, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Who knows? You might just learn something new and juicy about those who hold or have held the reins of power. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride through history. See you next time.